Hello everyone, I've just returned from a ride up the coast where I've been using this little device here, which a couple of you noticed was on the bike in the previous ride. This is I've changed it slightly from the ride that you're going to see and actually the previous ride. It was further down, it was mounted just on that area there. But I discovered that although you can see the pointer, I couldn't easily read the distance before the turns. So I thought it needs to be a bit closer to me, and I'm hoping that'll do the trick. Anyway, this has been given to me very, very kindly by my friend Dave. Thank you so much, Dave. It's great to have it, to be able to use it. Now you might say, well, Peter, you always use paper maps, surely, Ordnance Survey paper maps. Well, true, I do. And in fact, to set the route that I wanted to ride, I did actually look at the Ordnance Survey paper map, and then I used the Beeline, this is the Beeline Moto 1, Beeline app, which uses, I believe, Google Maps to actually set the route, but I don't find it quite so nice to use as an Ordnance Survey map. There's nowhere near the detail on it, so I've used the OS map to start with, and then the train's just coming past. Right, that's gone. Yeah, so I use the OS map to really get to know the area that I'm going to be riding through, and I think I should continue to use that. It took me a while actually to pair this Moto 1 with my phone. I don't quite know what I was doing wrong, but anyway, it did it in the end, so I'm very happy with that. I set it on I've got a tablet, 10-inch tablet, which I actually use to plan the route, and then I transfer that onto my phone, which I take with me. And you'll see from the video, actually, it worked extremely well. The only thing I did find was that by not being able to see any direction information written on there, it seemed as though I was coming up to a junction in one or two places and almost about to pass by without making the turn. So anyway, you'll see that and how well it worked. And we've got a lovely little visit to what's called Jenny Brown's Point. Now, I do have to find out a little bit about who was Jenny Brown and what was her point. So we'll have that in the video. I'll put that on as a text, that sort of information. So I hope you enjoy the ride, and yeah, it will be interesting to try this on other routes, which I shall set. I did actually go off-piste, so to speak, with this. I thought, well, let's try it if I actually go somewhere that isn't set on the route. So I did that as well, and it seemed to cope very well with it. It didn't throw it into terrible panics. So anyway, I hope to see you on the ride, and we'll have a little story as well, of course, as we always seem to now. Yes, I'm glad you all enjoyed the previous stories. It's been quite an eye-opener, actually, the number of views that's had in 48 hours. So yes, thank you very much for watching it, and thank you to everyone that stayed with me all this time, and all the lovely subscribers and viewers. Thank you, and we'll see you soon. Welcome back to another ride on this Thursday morning. Now we're heading off up the coast, and we're using the Beeline Moto 1 little sat-nav, which you can see mounted there, and we're heading off towards a place called Jenny Brown's Point. Now you may be wondering, just who was Jenny Brown and what was her point? Well, I've done a bit of research, and from what I can tell, it's all a bit vague, as most of these things are. Now, Jenny Brown could well have been the daughter of a farmer, or the farm that's on the promontory, which is the point, and she married a Mr. Brown. Now, possibly that's Jenny Brown. That seems very likely, doesn't it? but also she could well have been a lover waiting for her lost sailor who never returned. And there's another story which says that she was a nanny and she had these charges and she saved them from drowning. But there's also another story that it was the name of a steam engine that was actually located there. So you take your choice, and I think we'll probably never know, will we? But that's perhaps all for the best. So how are we doing with this this funny little sat nav then, which was very, very kindly given to me by Dave. Thank you, Dave. I shall really enjoy using this, and it has been mentioned because one or two of you have noticed it was on the bike but not in use earlier on another ride. I hadn't actually managed to pair it with my phone at that point, but we now got it mounted here. And yes, one or two of you said, well, surely you use paper maps, you don't use anything like this. Well, I have used a Garmin sat-nav in my camper van, and I haven't actually tried using it in the Beetle because it's not easy to mount in the Beetle. It doesn't have a wide dashboard to stick it onto or something. I could use this, I suppose. I could give it a go, couldn't I? The Garmin sat-nav is actually very good, and that came about because when I used to drive the camper van, and it was fine because my wife used to do the navigation and she was brilliant at it, so that was no trouble at all. But if ever she drove it, then I had to do navigating, and I wasn't much good at it. We'd come up to a roundabout and she'd say, right, which exit then? I said, well, oh, hang on, I need to know now. Yeah, so it was decided that when she drove, we'd use her sat-nav, and I've used it since, and I've got on very well with it, actually, the Garmin sat-nav. So I don't just use a paper map, especially when I went down to Bridgnorth to the Severn Valley Railway. The roundabouts around there, I'm always getting lost, but with the sat-nav it took me through some beautiful roads around Bridgnorth and Shropshire, and yeah, it's very, very useful. So yes, I do like to use these little devices, and we'll really get to know this one, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So let's see how it goes today. I do know the route up to a point here, that's why I've set this one, but when we get closer to Jenny Brown's point, I've never been there by motorcycle or car. I've parked up some way off and walked, and I've actually done a ramble around it, and it's actually lovely because it's a lot of wading birds there, and it's actually a promontory goes out into Morecambe Bay, south of a place called Silverdale, and that's the road we're on now. We're on the Silverdale Road and heading off through. So we're not too far off the junction where we have to do a left-hand turn. I do know that one. So we'll see whether it takes me or shows me that I want to go that way. So far, I mean, it's it's following the road nicely, isn't it? And yeah, so good. All's good. Reed bed's over on the right hand side, that's Leighton Moss, and the sea is over on our left, and we're just going to cross over this railway line here. This is the one that goes to Barrow Furness. That little arrow swings around as you do your turns. It's almost as if it's oil running in, sort of floating on a little bed of oil. That's my engineering side of me again, isn't it? Well, it should be telling me I've got to do a left-hand turn very, very soon. Just here would be good. Oh, here we go. A bit close to the junction. I would have liked it a bit further off. Now from memory there is another turn to the left a bit further along here. I'm going to set it on the map, and so I seem to remember that. Bend, that one. So this should take us straight to Jenny Brown's Point. Now if you come by car, you have to park just back there. That's the only parking there is down at the point. There is no there is no parking down at the point. You have to park back there and walk across either down here, or actually there's a way through the woods, which I've done with a friend of mine who loves to go swimming off Jenny Brown's Point with her two young children. Cyclist out, we're enjoying the lovely sunshine. We seem to be getting one day of lovely sunshine, next day of rain at the moment. We're well used to that. So this part of the ride will just be the ride, and but when we head off back from Jenny Brown's Point, we'll have a couple of stories. And I've been surprised and very pleased at how much you seem to enjoy those little stories. I must say I've enjoyed telling them and remembering them myself. And funny, when you start to tell one part of a story, then suddenly more of it comes flooding back, and that was certainly the case of the lost bottom half of the bikini. I hadn't remembered that until I started telling the story about the Lido, and then that came flooding back to me. Perhaps it was best left unremembered. So this is the farm down here, or a farm, and I do remember this from when I came a long time ago, a couple of years ago. Oh, right, left turn. Well, that's pretty good. Good advance. Warning. Oh, these awful machines cutting stone. The people that use them never seem to have any masks on, so how long what their life expectancy is, I shudder to think. And noise. I mean, they don't wear ear defenders, and no one around when they're doing it. We have to put up with a terrible noise. So that's my rant for the day. Right, we're heading off down this little leafy lane, so shouldn't be too far off now. In the past, I'd probably tried to go off to the left there, wouldn't I? Because my memory of looking at the paper map wouldn't have been good enough. So I would have had to have stopped and looked again. just ready the next bend. Ah, here we are. Yeah, that's the sweep of Morecambe Bay. Just pop along and park up. Well, just walked back to the bike, and now this was as far as I'd actually planned on the Beeline app. The idea was I was going to then turn around and go back and go for a different ride up somewhere else. So as you can see on the you can see it's telling me to go backwards, telling me to turn right now. Yeah, so it's through it a tiny bit, but it's got itself sorted out. So we're just going to ride along here for a bit as far as we can go, just hopefully go to a grid and up as far as the farm. Feels like we're going to someone's backyard here. Right, we're just up ahead is the farm itself, so I think we're going to stop here and have a little look across the bay. Right, well, we'll head on away from this particular part of the coast, but we'll stick with the coast, which will be on our left, of course, and off into more of the countryside towards Silverdale, the village of Silverdale. And this is still planned on the little Beeline. We'll see how that performs. I must say that riding in the countryside is my preferred, coasting countryside is my preferred places to be. I was brought up, as some of you know, in the city of Portsmouth, down on the south coast, famous for Portsmouth Dockyard and HMS Victory, of course, all of that naval stuff. Now Portsmouth itself, some of you may know, a lot of it is actually below sea level, and to raise the level a bit and also get rid of all the rubbish from Portsmouth over the many centuries, it all got dumped over towards the east and west of the city, all that stuff. And then they started, when they decided they'd filled enough, they'd put a load of earth over it. Not quite enough, but anyway, some. And I grew up during the 1950s, just after the Second World War, in the 1950s in Portsmouth, and much of the housing, especially around the Portsmouth Royal Dockyard area, was all bombed. They didn't seem to actually hit the dockyard, hit all around it, but not the dockyard itself. Obviously there were plenty of anti-aircraft guns around there, as you might expect. But because of that, we often played, as I've mentioned before, in places where there was a lot of rubble. And also the school that I went to was on the eastern side of Portsmouth, and that was actually built onto previously dumped land, and around it was still a lot of dumped area covered in earth. Now, back then in the 50s and into the early 60s, people seem to just push dump stuff. I suppose it's rather like fly tipping now, but back then you used to find old motorcycles just pushed up a little lane and left there. Well, of course, you know, to someone like myself and a couple of my friends at school, this was like catnip. So yes, I did actually get hold of one of these bikes. It was a BSA, a rigid framed BSA with girder forks, rather rusty, it has to be said, but I thought, it had a carburetor and everything on it, and yeah, bits of polished alloy, actually rather dull alloy by then. And we did actually push this to my home, which wasn't too far from the school, and so we pushed it home, and I don't think Mum and Dad were too impressed with this. Anyway, of course it didn't run, but it's not unlike one of our friends over in the States who are very envious. When he was 14, he had a speedway bike, a Yawa, or Jawa as I called it then, speedway bike from a neighbour. Oh, very impressed with that, I must say, Joe. Yes, so no, this wasn't a runner by any means, and actually the brakes didn't work either because they were just rusted. But what we did, we took turns to push one another on it up over this dumped area, which was great mounds, pretty steep actually, so it was hard work getting them up there. But oh, the fun we had coming down these mounds of earth, down these tracks that we'd made up there. We did that, must have been quite a few months of doing that actually, during the summer school holidays, and we didn't injure ourselves, I have no idea, because I mean, imagine just tearing down these slopes with no brakes, no protective clothing, of course, just probably in sandals and shorts. But oh, we just had such wonderful fun, and that was obviously my first introduction to a proper motorcycle, even though it didn't actually run. Yeah, so I don't know what happened at the end. I think we must have just pushed it back. When we'd had our fun, we pushed it back and just left it there, of course. But I did actually try and get the carburetor off. I remember getting this, it was an Able with a separate float chamber, and I did try and get that carburetor off, but I didn't have the tools with me, and I couldn't seem to, I got the carburetor off the cylinder head, but I couldn't actually seem to get the cables detached from it, so I had to leave it. And then a couple of older boys came up and chased me off, perishers. So no, I never did get that Able carburetor, but since then I've had lots of Able, so I don't feel cheated. So yes, the little Beeline is still taking us along the right route. That's good. So this is Silverdale. and it just heads off out into a little bit of countryside, but we're still very close to the sea, Morecambe Bay, to be more precise. Everyone's out enjoying this sunshine, aren't they? Oh, it's just wonderful. I love the way it swings around that little beeline as you make turns. Still mustn't look at that, I must look at the road. Keep your eye on the road. Watch out for tractors. Just received a rather wonderful book. Many of you will have heard of Sammy Miller, the motorcyclist. Started life as a road racer and trials rider, and then later, of course, became very famous in the motorcycling world as a trials rider. And yeah, fantastic man, a true motorcyclist, really steeped in the dyed-in-the-wool motorcyclist is Sammy. Now, what, 92, 93, still rides his racing machines. He's got a wonderful museum down in the south of England, in the New Forest. Oh, you can see the sea again. A view of that. This is a most wonderful book. He was always my hero right from the start. He, a true motorcyclist, because he not only is he a rider par excellence, but also superb engineer, restores these machines, and yeah, he's my idea of a true motorcyclist. So I was thrilled to get this book, and I've got a couple of others of his museum, of the machines that are in there. But yeah, I used to follow him in the pages of the motorcycle news, and I hadn't quite appreciated the depth of knowledge that he has of all machines, dating right back to the earliest days of motorcycling, right up to the current machines, and his restorations of machines for his museum and also for other people, with the help of obviously his workshop chap. They're just superb restorations. So I should enjoy reading that when I can't be out riding, like it might well be tomorrow, because it'll probably be raining tomorrow after today's wonderful weather. That's the way it seems to be going. Now over on our right, we're going to see Arnside Tower, which is it's called a Peel Tower. That's P-E-L-E, Peel Tower. It's medieval. Part of it collapsed in the 1990s, but there's still a lot remaining. So we'll park up, and I'll let you see it across to that. I have walked around it, and I've walked past it. It's on a nice walk around that way. You can see up over that way. It's nice views. So this is the road that leads to Arnside, and some parking just a bit further along, so a bit higher ground. We'll park up there and have a look. So we're not far off the end of this ride actually, so I'll say my goodbyes now. Thanks ever so much for watching this one. I hope you've enjoyed this one as well, as much as you did the last one. And we'll just park up and have a look at that tower. Thanks for watching.